This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so now I realize that a lot of people are facing some issues with building the .NET Core application, especially. Uh, there is a failure that you are able to see, or if you would have tried it, there is a failure basically that you're seeing at the .NET restore step. It's telling that the .NET Core doesn't support, or the pipelines doesn't support .NET 6, and it's failing at this step. And it's giving you something like PowerShell exit one, something like that error. But the actual error is that the pipelines are not supporting .NET 6, which is .NET 6 SDK, wherein you're building or wherein you're writing the project with Visual Studio 2022. When you're installing Visual Studio 2022, it comes by default with .NET Core 6 SDK. So in order to avoid that error, just add one more step before getting started, which is called use .NET, or just type in .NET here. You have something called use .NET Core. Just add the step, pull it all the way to the top. This should be the first task basically that you need to run. And in the version, now this will basically go ahead and install .NET, the proper version of the .NET on your pipeline. So just do 6.x, meaning 6 dot anything that is latest in let's say that particular 6 version, and then you can save it out. In my case, I'm not getting this error because I'm using Visual Studio 2019, which is an older version, and I'm building my project using .NET 3.1. So I do not have to basically go ahead and declare this particular step. And please try this out and let me know if this is working. So in my case, I don't need this, or I'm removing this task. So I'll say save this out, save it out, and let's come back to our class right now. So this way we have all our branches established, and we have, let's say, also established something called as path filters, wherein we said that, okay, fine, if the developer commits the code to, let's say, only the .NET Core folder, the .NET Core build should trigger, and if that, let's say, the developer commits the code to a .NET full framework folder, the .NET full framework build should trigger. Now there is one still issue that I haven't addressed till yet, which we will be doing today. What is that exactly? Is this now? I have my developer who's like committing my code into my repository. Like I have a developer who is, let's say, using his local laptop to write his code and etc. And he's using a feature branch. Now he's creating a feature branch. He's committing all his code to this particular feature branch out here. All his code to this particular feature branch, and using this feature branch as a short-lived branch, and committing out or raising a pull request to the develop branch. Okay, let's say git raising a pull request to the develop branch of your repository. Now this is the symbol of a branch. So I'm using a feature, raising a pull request to the develop into your repository, and then the feature is getting deleted, and then you have your pipeline getting triggered. Then you have your continuous integration pipeline that is getting triggered here. This is the workflow what we established. And what's happening is that when the developer is raising a pull request from the feature into the develop branch has certain policies telling that there should be at least one person, meaning like a contributor in my case, should go ahead and review the code. Should go ahead and what? Review the code. And work item should be linked to your code. So work item comments must be resolved. So you had comment resolution. So guys, this is important. Please make sure to work with this as much as possible. Again, very popularly asked interview question is that what are the branching policies that are established in your project? How are you making sure to protect the quality of the code and etc. Now the work item and the comment resolution, right? These are something to make sure that your you're following the proper agile framework and etc., wherein the system, the Azure DevOps system, is firstly seeing whether there's a work item is there or someone has done any comment, so I won't let the PR getting merged and etc. Great. Reviewer, very important. We will have one reviewer or two reviewers at the max who can go ahead and, let's say, review your entire code, approve the changes and all that stuff, right? So you're doing all those things out here to protect your branch. But tell me, or this guy is a contributor, right? I mean, this guy who's reviewing the code, he has to go to each and every pull request. He has to check each and every pull request, see if there are bugs or see if there are any issues in the code and etc., and manually do it. Meaning, for each and every pull request, this particular person who's reviewing your code should manually go ahead and do it, isn't it? So if you are someone who's manually doing it, let's imagine you are the reviewer of my code, and in my organization, like me, I have 100 developers, and each and everyone is doing a lot of activity, and there are a lot of pull requests that you need to review on a daily basis. Now, any one of y'all, tell me how much efficient do you think will this process be? Tell me how much efficient, or do you all feel that this is efficient of one person going to review each and every PR, or a set of persons going to review each and every PR, understanding what is the quality and then approving the pull request? Do you think this is an efficient procedure? Yes, no, maybe. Okay, a lot of time taking. Yes, certainly a lot of time taking. But my my contribution team is okay to go ahead and spend that time. But I'm more thinking about the quality of it. Like, if let's say there are hundreds of PRs on a daily basis, each and every PR is containing, let's say, about 1,000 changes of lines. Do you think that you will be able to maintain the quality of the code that is coming inside the develop branch of your repository? Anyone, guys? Yes, no, maybe. What do you feel about this?
No, Kiran.
So, no. So, meaning you won't be able to go ahead and review each and every pull request and still be able to tell that, what, my develop branch is containing bug free code. Meaning my develop branch is like pure, my develop branch is like bug free code and etc. You won't be able to tell because this procedure is not efficient. It's not really efficient. So, meaning, instead of a human being who's reviewing the code, meaning I still need a human being to go ahead and approve the code. So I'll still not uh, eliminate the reviewer out here. I'll still have the reviewer, but the reviewer now is like let's say just someone who's going ahead and clicking on the approve button. But to check the quality of the code that is coming in from the feature into the develop branch, I need an automated tool here. I want to introduce some kind of an automation here, which will help me go ahead and verify the code quality, which will help me go ahead and analyze the code quality. Now, this is where I bring in something called as static code analysis. What do I mean by static code analysis out here is that these are code quality checks. These are code quality checking tools like Sonar Cube. There is something called as Sonar Cube, which is in place to just go ahead and verify the quality of the code that is coming into your develop branch, which is to make sure that a good quality of the code is actually coming and sitting inside your develop branch. This is what Sonar Cube as a tool is actually doing out here. Now in the market, you have a lot of tools like this called Sonar, Fortify, and you have JMeter, a lot of things out here which will help you achieve this out. But in this sessions or in these classes, we'll be looking familiarly or we'll be interacting most popularly with a tool called Sonar because a lot of organizations kind of use this out. So what do I do here is that firstly, let me go into the Sonar website. So there is something called sonarcloud.io. The website link or this, or let's say when you type in sonarcloud.io, you get to this particular page which tells you what is Sonar, how do you measure the code quality and all that stuff. And I will say, okay, fine, I will want to basically analyze myself also. I want to analyze my repository also. My repository is in, let's say, a cloud called Azure DevOps, or in, let's say, a tool called Azure DevOps. So I'll just go ahead and say I'll sign in with Azure DevOps. And as and when I do that, it's now asking me which account that you have, and I already have signed in with Azure DevOps here. So I'll just say, okay, fine, I will sign in with Azure DevOps account, and it will load my Sonar project. And this is the first page what you'll see. Rather not this, in your case, you may see a first page something like this. As in when you log into Azure DevOps, this is the first, or as in when you log into Sonar Cloud using the Azure DevOps account, this is the first page what you'll see, which it will tell you or which will ask you to go ahead and create an organization in Sonar. There are two things, like you have organization and project in Azure DevOps. In the same way, you will have an organization and a project inside Sonar also. So what I will do here is that I'll just come down, I'll just scroll down. It says, okay, fine, please give me the name of your organization, the personal access token and everything. What I'll do here is that I'll just come down here, and there is something called create organization manually. Since this is, let's say, a free account that I'm using, I want to make sure to create my projects and organization manually. So I'll say I'll create organization manually. And in here, it is asking for a key. It's telling organization key must start with the lowercase letter or number and etc. followed by something, something. So it's just asking you to just give a key out here. So what I'll do is that this is my organization, which is called my ADO Playground. This is the organization name that I have given. So I'll just give the organization name here. I'll say my ADO Playground org. I'm just giving a sample name. You can give anything out here as a key. And if I click on the additional information, you can also have display name out here. And I'll say it is my ADO org, my sample ADO org. This is what I'm just giving as, let's say, the display name. And it's asking you for a URL. Now, this is not mandatory, but it's a good practice to just go ahead and give the URL of your organization. So I'll just take till here, which is called 7 a.m. project. I mean, till here, which is called my ADO Playground, which is the URL of my organization. Paste it here. That's it. I'm not doing anything, and I'm saying continue. So what I did here is that I created a key, a very sample key out here, and I created a display name for my organization, and I'm saying continue. And there are two types of plans that you can choose from. One is a free plan with a limited amount of, let's say, functionality, but this is good enough for our demo. And the other is a paid plan. So what I'm going to do now is I'll just say I'm selecting a free plan and I'll say create organization. So what happened just now is that I created an organization called my ADO sample org, and inside the organization, now I will go ahead and create a project. Meaning inside one Sonar organization, you can analyze multiple projects sitting in multiple clouds. Meaning you can analyze multiple repositories is what I mean. This is called static code analyzer, which is helping you to analyze the code in your repository. So each and every repository will need a project. Each and every repository will need, let's say, a project, and you can just have one organization and you can create multiple projects inside it. Yes, does anyone have a question, guys? Okay. So I will now say create a new project. and it says, okay, fine, the organization name is this. Can you please give a project key? So what I'll do is that whatever is the name of my project, which is 7am class project, is the name of the project that I want to basically I'm working on. And specifically, this is a .NET Core project basically that I'm working on. So what I'll do here, I'll come down here and I'll say it is 7am and I'll say it is .NET Core. So I'm just giving something like 7am class project. Inside that, there is a repository called .NET Core. This is something that I want to analyze. And this can be either a public project or a private project, meaning something that the entire world can see. Your results can be looked at by the entire world. Since we are using a free account, we do not have a private organization, or we do not have, let's say, a private project here. We can only go ahead and create a public project. But in the case of an organization, they will choose the private project out here. So in our case, to test it out, we are just going ahead and making sure that we create a public project. So in here, I'm saying, okay, fine, this is a public project, and I'm saying set it up. Now you have a public project. Now it's telling, okay, fine, the project is ready for analysis. And one final thing that I need to do out here is that I need to come here into something known as branches. And in the branch, the sonar is trying to analyze the master branch. In my case, I'd like to analyze the develop branch because that's my main branch out here for all my developmental activities. So what I'll do is that click on this gear icon and I'll say rename branch and I'll say develop, because this is the branch I am working on. If you look into my repository, this is the branch that I'm actually working on, which is called develop branch. It's called a developmental or a develop branch out here. So that's the reason I went ahead and changed the analyzer to, let's say, into a develop branch right now. So this is where I'm set with all of these things, and you can come here and there is something like general settings, quality profiles, and etc., which we'll look into. And there is something known as administration out here. And if I click on administration, there's something called keys and etc. So you can also look at the key of your project and so on and so forth. So what I'll do now is that this is good, great. I have a Sonar organization right now. I have a Sonar project right now. Both of them basically are configured. I am also making sure, I have also renamed the branch so that it can go ahead and let's say it can go ahead and let's say analyze the develop branch of my repository. Now, one thing that's left here is that great, I created a Sonar. Yes, there is a Sonar basically that I created. It's which is an external tool, which is a third-party tool. It's not, let's say, a Microsoft tool. It's a third-party tool which is ready to go ahead and analyze my projects, which is a different, altogether different UI out there. Now, I need to find out a way somehow to integrate my Sonar with Azure DevOps so that it can, both of them can communicate, and Azure DevOps can let Sonar analyze and Sonar can analyze Azure DevOps. So what I'll do here is that I'll come back to my project. This is where I am, and I'll go to the project here and I'll say project settings. And inside the project settings, if I just scroll down, I have something called as a service connections, which is used to go ahead and establish third-party connections, meaning establish bridges between, or establish, let's say, a connection between Azure DevOps and let's say third-party tool like Sonar or AWS or let's say Puppet, Chef. A lot of things can be supported out here. In my case, I just want to establish a link between Azure DevOps and Sonar out here. So what I'm doing is I'm coming here into service connections and I don't have a service connection. So I'll say, please go ahead and create a new service connection. And it's asking me what kind of a service connection are you looking for? Do you want to go ahead and connect to something like a Docker, Chef, Bitbucket? What is it? I just say, you know what, not all these things, but I am looking for something like a Sonar. This is the one that I'm working on, which is called a Sonar Cloud. So I'll say, okay, fine, great. Since I'm working on a Sonar cloud, I'll just click this and I'll say next. Now it's telling, can you please give me a security token of the Sonar cloud? So I don't know where to find it. So it's telling authentication token needs to be generated in the Sonar cloud. Go to my account, security, and then generate token. It's telling, okay, fine, this is where you'll find your token. So I need a security key from Sonar so that I can verify Sonar. So what I'm going to do is I'll come down to my Sonar cloud here, and in the top right hand corner, this is where you'll find your account. Like this is the place where I'm highlighting. This is where you'll find your account. So what I'm going to do now is I'll come here and I have my account here. That's what it is. Azure DevOps is telling me. Go to my account, go into security, and now I'll go ahead and enter the name of a token that I want to generate. For example, I want to generate a 7 a.m. project.NET Core. As you see here, I've generated a lot of keys over the past. Whenever I've been using, I've generated a lot of keys out here. So I'll say generate this out. As and when I generate it, you will have, you know what, you will have basically a key basically that is generated out here. Now, very importantly, guys, you have to make sure to save this key somewhere, because once I copy it and let's say I right now paste it in, let's say, a notepad. So I copied it and I pasted it on a notepad, and once I refresh it, right, the key will not be seen again. It will be disappeared, meaning the key, you cannot go ahead and retrieve this key back again. So please make sure to save this key somewhere safe, like whether in a notepad or let's say in any of, we'll talk about something called as key vaults and etc. in Azure. So we normally save all these keys in something called as a key vault. We'll talk about it. So please save this key, and once you refresh this page, you won't be able to see that key again. So I basically created a key just now on Jan 25th, but I am not able to see anything. Like, you know, I'm not able to go ahead and see this key. I can just revoke it. I can just cancel the permission of this key. So that's the reason I saved my key. I'm copying this key right now, going into Azure DevOps, pasting this key here, and I'll say verify. Now what's Azure DevOps doing is that Azure DevOps is using this particular key, going to the portal called Sonar and just verifying whether this particular key exists, that particular Sonar organization exists, and etc. And then finally it said, okay, fine, verification successful. I'm good with this. You can go ahead. What I'll do now is I'll give a name to my service connection. I'll say sonar.net service connection, and I'll say verify and save. And just before verifying saving, I'll just scroll down and it has something called grant access to all the pipelines. I'll click this and I'll say verify and save. This will make sure that all the pipelines can use this particular connection that you have created. So now what I'm going to do now is, since this connection is created, I'm good with this right now, and I'll go to my pipelines and I'll go to something called as .NET Core, edit this pipeline, and in here I'll just go ahead and add a task, and I'll search for something called as Sonar. Now, as and when I do that, you have multiple things here called run code analyzer, prepare configuration, and a lot of things. Normally, I am able to see an add button because I've been using Sonar since a long period. This is the one that you need to add, guys. The orange one, which is like Sonar Cloud, this is the one we need to configure. This is the task you need to add. Now, in my case, I have an add. In your case, you won't have this. You will have something like, see, in my case, it's saying this is installed. In your case, you will have something like get it free. Instead of, let's say, add, you will have, in place of Sonar Cloud, you will have something called get it free. You just need to click on this button and just need to install it. It's a very simple procedure. You just need to say get it free. You'll be diverted into a page. For example, considering that this is Sonar, if I click on get it free, you'll be diverted into the actual page. You just need to hit on get it free and install Sonar. That's what you need to do. So you need to say get it free and then install it out. So once I do get it free again, it will take me to another page where it will ask me to go ahead and install, and it will now say, okay, fine, loading your organization and etc. It's giving me the name of my organization, and you just need to hit the install button here. That's it. Once you hit an install, just come back here, refresh this page, and you should be able to see all these tasks with add button just beside it. So these are the three tasks that I'm actually looking at. These are the three tasks that I'm actually looking to add. So what I'll do here is I'll just go ahead and add all these things out. So I'll say add, I'll say add, I'll say add. Sorry, I'll say. So I have all these three things out. I have added everything. And there are three tasks out here, which is called publish, quality, get result. There is something called prepare sonar cloud analyzer. There is something called run sonar cloud. There are three things out here. So how do I arrange them? There is an order in which you need to arrange them. So please follow carefully. The very first task should be preparing the sonar analysis, meaning you are now preparing the sonar cloud. So where this needs to be placed is that this needs to come as soon as you do a restore. As soon as you do a .NET restore, this is going to sit in. The reason being, after the .NET restore, it will now understand what is your project, what kind of, let's say, external dependencies, or what kind of, let's say, plugins this sonar tool needs to install and etc. So you need to make sure to prepare the sonar analysis as soon as the .NET restore is done. You need to run the analyzer only after the code is built. Sonar cannot run on a code which is raw, meaning which is not compiled. So you are compiling the code here, which is in build, and then you're running basically something known as a sonar analyzer. And then finally something called as publish quality gate. This can come this can come soon after, let's say, the run code analysis. So this is the order in which I arrange my code. One is called run sonar. Firstly is called prepare sonar analyzer for configuration, meaning you need to configure the sonar analyzer. Second thing is run. Third thing is build. Now, if you don't follow this order, then your pipeline will fail. So prepare sonar analysis should always come after restore. Run should always come after build. This is the order in which we need to follow. And now there is some error here which is telling, okay, fine, there is a red button here which is telling that, okay, fine, there are errors and etc. And in here you have something called prepare analysis on sonar, which needs a couple of settings. So let's go here and let's understand what it needs. So firstly, it's asking me the name of the task. So I'll say the name of the task is sonar configuration. Secondly, it's asking what is the sonar endpoint, meaning what is the service connection of the sonar that you have? Can you please give me that? I'll just click on this drop down, and I just created the service connection, right, which is sonar-.net service connection. I will select this. As and when I select it, I'll just refresh this page. And once I click on this drop down, I'm able to see the name of my organization, which is called my ADO sample org. This is the name of the organization that I have. Secondly, it's now asking me what is the project key and what is the project name in Sonar that I need to report it to. In here again, just come back. I'll just go to my projects. I have a project here which is called 7am core. This is the name of the project. So I'm saying it is 7am.net core project. Placing it in the name. I'm placing this in the name out here. And it's asking me for the key. It's asking me for the project key, which you will be able to get here. Come into administration, go to something called update keys. You'll be able to see a key out here. Just copy this out and paste it out here. So this is what I did. So the project name and the project key, I have configured it in the same way. Now I don't want this to be exposed like this because project name, project key are sensitive information for me. So I don't want to expose it this way. So instead of giving the project name directly here, I'll go into something called variables. I'll add a variable called project name. And I'll add this variable called 7am .NET core. And finally, I'll add one more thing called the project key, which is the same value, but this is a sensitive information. So I'll just scroll to the right and I'll say change the variable type to secret. I'll log this out. So this is now a secret. This is how I pass a secret value in Azure DevOps. And since I declared these two variables, I'll use them in my pipeline as variables. So how do I use it? I'll just remove this out. I'll say dollar open and close parenthesis under which I'll give the name of the variable, which is called project name. And even this one, I will now change it to a variable. And instead of project name, this is project key. So this is how I am passing the variables. This is how I'm making use of the variables in Azure DevOps. And once this is passed, I will go ahead, do a save and queue. And in here, I'll say that configured sonar analyzer. And I'll say save and run. So I have now configured something known as a sonar analyzer. Now I have triggered my pipeline, which will take me about 3 or 4 minutes because sonar analysis itself takes like about 2 minutes of time to go ahead and analyze my project and etc. So just a brief up on what we did. We configured two things in sonar side, which is the organization in sonar and the project in sonar. And this project had a key, which I gave. Secondly, we came to Azure DevOps and we were trying to create something called as a service connection to sonar. And in service connection, we went ahead and we basically made sure to generate a sonar token and establish something known as a service connection. 3 is added sonar into the pipeline. 4 is we are running the pipeline. So in a nutshell, this is what we did since the last half an hour out here. So any questions till here, guys? Anyone, anything till here? Are you all able to follow this? Any confusions here? Anyone, any questions still here?
Once tell them sonar.
I'm sorry.
Once explain the sonar.
What exactly that you want me to explain? I'm sorry.
Once tell me about sonar. Once.
Like the configuration part, or what exactly that you're asking
Yeah,
for?
configuration part is.
Okay, configuration part. I went ahead, created firstly the sonar organization. So the first thing that I started with is the organization and sonar. So I was in a page which was asking me to create a sonar organization. I created that. Once I came into the organization, I went ahead and added a project. So I have two things here, create an organization and etc. So I went ahead, added an organization key, gave the name of the organization, gave the URL and etc. Then I created a project inside the organization. I created a project inside the organization. I gave the project key, gave the display name. Once this is done, I created the sonar token. So if I go into my account here, and if I go into security, created a sonar token, and then established a service connection out here. This is what I did
Okay.
for the sonar configuration.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any more questions here, guys? And if you see, it took about 2 minutes 15 seconds for this pipeline to run. And again, the pipeline started with an initialized job wherein it went ahead and it was looking for an agent on Azure DevOps. It got an agent. Then it's going into something known as the checkout repository where it's going ahead and downloading all the code. 3, it's going into something called as .NET Core Restore, wherein it's trying to restore all the dependencies. And after restoration, this is where Sonar came into picture, wherein since the code is already restored, Sonar is now able to identify that this is a .NET. So it's telling, okay, fine, this is a .NET code. So let me download all the plugins that I need for .NET. Everything that I need for .NET, I'm downloading everything. Then I'm doing a .NET build, wherein I'm compiling all my code. And it said, okay, fine, the build is successful. And after the build is done, I'm running the actual code analysis. Here I am using the Sonar, and I'm running basically the Sonar test cases against the code that I already built, and it's going ahead and kind of installing all the plugins it needs, and then basically it's trying to run a lot of test cases on it. So it's telling, okay, fine, there is a lot of test cases that I need to run, and it's basically going ahead and targeting my projects inside, and it's going ahead and, let's say, running the test cases. And finally, once it runs the test cases, it ran all the test cases, it said execution is successful, and I have uploaded your Sonar report, meaning I've uploaded something called as a report in this link. So it's giving a report here, or it says, okay, fine, analysis is successful. You can find the results at this particular link. Anything will work. Any link is going to work. So if I click on this link, it will now take me to the, let's say, the Sonar, and it's basically it's a temporary link out here. But if I come down to my Sonar, if I go into my projects, you are able to see that the project has been analyzed. There is the analyzer that ran, and it's now telling that, okay, fine, you know what, there is an analysis report that is ready for you. So if I go into the project, it says, okay, fine, there are 21 findings and etc. And it says, okay, fine, this is the first analysis on, let's say, January 25th. And it's telling, okay, fine, the analysis is done and all that stuff. So it's now able to tell me how many lines of code it analyzed. So it analyzed somewhere around 13,000 lines of code out here, wherein it's saying, okay, fine, this is the analysis report, this is how it looks like, and etc. And if I come back, it also is telling me what are the bugs in my code, what are the issues in my code, are there any issues, are there any vulnerabilities in my code, and etc. So it's telling, are there any issues, and etc. And since there are no issues, this passed successfully. This phase of Sonar analysis passed successfully, and it's able to go ahead and successfully execute it. Now, if there are any issues, this phase will fail. If this phase will fail, your entire pipeline will fail. So the developer, you will need to now work with the development team in order to fix the errors that are there in the pipeline, or that are there in the code rather. So this is what you need to do out here. So I have analyzed the Sonar, I've done everything, and finally I said, okay, fine, publish the quality gates. And it's also now telling me that, okay, fine, quality gates and etc. And these links are like these are short-term links out here, so that's the reason you're getting a 404 error and etc. But you can actually go inside your project and you can find all the analysis reports out here. In my case, there is no historical data because it takes some time in order to generate all these things. But it now tells me that, okay, fine, you have like good amount of code that got analyzed and all that stuff. And this is the first analysis that kind of ran on this one, with about 13,000 lines of code that got analyzed. Those were the number of lines that I had in my project, which is humanly not possible to go ahead and go into each and every line and then analyze this out. This is where code quality tools like Sonar or 45 come into picture and help you out. There's also something called white source bolt. So a lot of products are there in the market, but one of the most popularly used product is Sonar out here. So any questions still here, guys? Is this okay? Is this understandable?
A little complexity to set the sonar things.
Yeah, it is complexity. Reason being, you are now dealing with third-party tools. Like you are now dealing with integration with different tools and etc. So there are a lot of moving parts. Meaning, I went into Azure DevOps, configured something, went into Sonar, configured something, and etc. So just take some time and just take like about a little time. Try to follow this video again, and see if you're able to get this out.
Okay.
But in this entire analysis, I went ahead, I configured everything in a very good way, but good enough, but it's not great. Why is it not great? Reason being, please understand this. I configured Sonar in such a way that it will run whenever this pipeline gets triggered. And when will this pipeline get triggered, guys? Can anyone tell me when will this pipeline get triggered?
Whenever the changes merge to develop branch
Right. So
by any
whenever this
developer.
thing, correct. So whenever the changes get merged into the develop branch, only then this pipeline is getting triggered. But my static analyzer or my code analysis should happen before the merge, right? It should happen during this phase. Now I am running Sonar Analyzer after it is getting merged. I'm running it here, which is not ideal, right? Because the code already got merged. Whatever damage had to be done is already done. Your code quality and all is like, already it's like, it's gone bad. And now you are analyzing the code after it is getting merged into the develop branch, which is not ideal in my case, which I don't need, or which shouldn't be in that way. I should be running an analyzer whenever a developer just raises a pull request from the feature into the develop branch. With this logic, what I'll do, I'll come down to my pipeline. This is the .NET Core build pipeline that I'm working on. I will make a copy of my pipeline, meaning this is the build pipeline that I'm working on. So if I go inside it, and if I click on these three dots, I can clone my pipeline here. There's something called clone. So I can clone my pipeline here. So what's happening right now is that I'm now making a copy of the pipeline here. And this pipeline is now called as clone pipeline and all that stuff. So I'll just change the name and I'll say this is validator. And I'll say this is core. This is a .NET Core validator. I don't want to publish the result. I don't want the artifact here. I don't need anything here. I'll remove it out. This is just a validation pipeline which should not produce any artifact. And I'll go into the triggers and also remove the triggers. I don't even need the triggers. I don't even want the trigger to basically go ahead and hit this out. And in here, I have this validator pipeline, and I'll just say save this out. And I'll just save it into a folder called validations. And I'll just save this out here. So what's happening right now is that in my pipelines, I have, let's say two, it's only showing me all the run pipelines out here, but there is something called all, inside which I have something known as a validation pipeline, which is a core pipeline, which is just a validator. We also call this as gated build or PR build. Why this is called a gated build is because this is now acting as a quality gate, which is a quality check gate. So using this particular pipeline, what I'm going to do right now is I will go into the branch. I will go into something called as the develop branch here. And in the develop branch, if I just scroll down, there is something called as build validation. Just telling validate code by pre-merging and building a pull request and all that stuff. Meaning what I'll do here is I'll add one more policy. And I'll say in this policy, please go ahead and take the build pipeline called validation core. And I will say this is something like validator. I'm just telling, okay, fine, this is a validator. Please make sure that this gets triggered whenever there is a pull request that's being raised to a branch, and I'll say save. So I'm now saying this is a validator and I added a pipeline called a validation out here, and also give path filters here. Like I can tell that only when .NET Core folder is kind of updated, please go ahead and trigger this pipeline and etc. But as of now, I'm doing that, so I can also give a path filter here, and I have added this pipeline as, let's say, a build validation under my branch policy. So I've added this as a build validation under my branch policy, and what this will do is this: if a developer now goes ahead and says, okay, fine, I want a feature branch, something like feature .NET Sonar test, uses something like changes, and let's say I use the develop branch here, and I'll say create, and going inside the branch, let me do a very small, let's say, change on the code. Going ahead and I'm saying, okay, fine, this is pages. Inside index page, I'm just doing a very small change called this is version 4. Committing this code out. And create a pull request into the develop branch. And I'll say create. Now, as and when I create a pull request, now there are 3 checks out here. Work items must be linked, comments must be resolved, the validation should pass. What is happening here is this one. There is this particular pipeline which got triggered, which is just doing one simple thing, which is analyzing my code using something called as Sonar. And if this pipeline fails, meaning it can fail in run code analyzer if the code quality is not good. If this pipeline fails, your pull request will fail. So where is my pull request? Let me come back here. If this pipeline fails, your pull request that you just raised, this will fail. If this will fail, your code will not get merged. That is how we control the quality of the code that is coming inside the develop branch. So I am running the Sonar analysis before I'm going ahead and merging the code into the repository. This is very important to do. So Sonar analysis is getting triggered here. Before the code is going into the develop branch, the Sonar analyzer is getting triggered, and it's going ahead and able to successfully analyze my code. And if it passes, your pull request will pass. If it fails, your pull request will fail, and your code merge will be stopped then and there. This is how I am now controlling what is the quality of the code that is coming inside my develop branch. Make sense, guys? Any questions so far? Anyone, any questions? And this will be slightly confusing, so please go through the video today. But this is very important. As a DevOps engineer, we do all these things. We configure Sonar, we maintain Sonars, we make sure to integrate this in our build. So we do all these things out here. So please make sure to go through this video once again. Please try out Sonar. The portal is free. You don't have to pay anything. Please try it out and let me know if you have any questions out there. So if there are no further questions, guys, then we're good to close the class today, and we'll meet tomorrow at the same time, and we'll discuss more on Azure DevOps. Thank you, guys.